Hello there, reason people, PoohBear here, and welcome to my channel. And today I'm just going to have a quick look at the Select program. I'm actually looking at this with you. I've had this a while, and this comes from a company, was it Untitled Live? And they've recently just brought out this Set CV Out, which is a 1-in-8 out switch, which is something I'm very excited about because I've even spoken to some devs about building something like that, and I thought, oh, that could be a good device for me to build. But they've actually bought one out, and I started looking at that, and I thought I'd revisit some of their other devices because I know I had a quick look at this when it first came out, but there was something strange about it which I didn't quite get my head around, and I think I understand how it does work after rereading the description for about several times, and I was about to test it, and I thought, well, why don't I film what I'm testing and we can all go through it together. I happen to have myself an Argus at the top, which is a CV generator, so I can use this to generate a signal, which obviously we can then push through here. And I'm using a compare, so we can obviously look at what's happening with the signals, and obviously we can get some exact voltages if we need to, using the dual CV sources at the bottom. And obviously, one of the things I like about all three of these devices is, at first glance, just using the knobs for generating stuff. We're going to be using the view, and we're going to be using this really again as a view as well. They seem quite a basic devices, but all three of these have actually got a lot of power. There's a hell of a lot of power behind this and how we can generate signals and put signals through. There's a lot under the hood of the CV source. And this one here, actually, these functions really do help a lot, and I'll do a video where we start using all this stuff for them. But for now, let's actually investigate this little baby a little bit closer. Now, the way they've set it up, and first thing I need to say about is Linode Live, is from that last bit, live. They're building their devices for using Reason live, and hence you're going to see a lot of things from 0 to 127 because it's fallen into the MIDI standard, and obviously from 0 to 127 is from 0 to 1 volt for us in the CV world. So let's see what we can push through these things, what will work and maybe what won't work, and then that will sort of give us a view of where we could probably use this in our projects in the future, or more to the point where I could use this in my projects in the future. So at the moment, we haven't really got anything wired up at the back, he says. All I've done is I've just taken some of the outputs from the compare and just to put them into the dual CV source, just so if I need to, I can look at the closer voltages. So we've got nothing wired out. So what I am going to wire out is I'm going to take an out, put that into number 1, and let's put let's put number 2 into number 2. I'm going to take the bottom row here and just see what signals are coming out of here as well. And as I say, the way this thing works is the program number on the front really is relating to the port number on the back. And even though I was looking at ranges from 0 to 31, or 0 to 127, this is what these here up for. So if I was to select the next set of ranges, okay, on the back, if we look, it's actually changed the port numbers and so on and so forth. So we can stack these on top of each other. And yeah, we'll have a little talk about that in a second. So at the moment, I'm going to put this back onto the first one. And as you can see, as soon as it's on 0, we've got ourselves a full volt coming through. Got ourselves a full volt coming through the system. So if we choose program number 1, which is the next port, that one goes down to a 0 volt, and we've come up again to a full volt, and we can see that's gone to 0 and that's gone to a full volt. These are still on 0 volts and haven't moved. Yep, so that one's gone to a 1, so that's channel 3, which is obviously our third port. And yeah, so everything's with nothing plugged in. This is basically like a switch on or off, depending which port you got wired up. So this could be an interesting usage of a switch. And I know in their video they showed it, they had it wired up to a player device they had, which will enable obviously the signal to either go through that player device or it's going to block it altogether. And I can see that being very useful in a live use, actually, and I can see using this kind of switching quite useful in generative programs as well. So I can see that setup working there quite nicely. So let's actually put a voltage through it and see what's going to happen then. And to be honest, I expect the volt to go through as we would expect. And let's bring this down to 0. That's an interesting little glitch when I plug that in there. So it's just probably that. So, okay, I've got myself 0.617 volt coming through, which is probably about right from what I've got sending up out there. Yeah, it was saying 0.62. Obviously, this is all rounded up. So this is obviously a better figure to look at. And yeah, that's cool. So we're going to switch to number 2, and I expect this one to come up now. Yeah, that's come up now. And okay, so there's nothing, this has gone to its full volt because there's nothing actually plugged into the second port. I've left that port empty here. I just wasn't sure what was going to happen if we had a signal coming in here and nothing coming out of there. I wasn't sure if it was going to ignore it or bypass it. So, okay, these work as they were before, so there's no difference there. So straight away, it'd be fair to say then, whatever signal we put in over here are going to come out of the individual ports when they're selected. Obviously, there's a through as well, so there's nothing stopping us. And let's do it, because that's the whole point of demonstration videos, isn't it? There's nothing stopping us, like in this particular case, I can take that through and put it into that select, that through, into that select, that through, and that select. And the select, by the way, is the channel number or program number. So when I change one at the top, it's going to change these. And if you notice, if I actually put this, like say, onto the different ports, it grays it out. And it's graying it out because it's not in range. It's got no range at all. So when we go up over 31, this will be grayed out. And now this is in range, so it knows it's affecting these ports. And, you know, as you go up and up and up, it will go, and eventually we get the last one going. Yeah. So handy little simple features. I like things which give you nice simple feedback. So yeah, that's quite a cool little thing. Also, as I said, I could have a simple one in, and then obviously I can connect this through up into this in, this through to this in, this through to this in. And obviously I could do that through to the other ends as well. So whatever signal's coming in now is being passed through to all of these. And because of the way I've got it configured, as you can see, 1, 2, 7, and 0, we've effectively built ourselves a 1 in to 128 ports out. Okay, it's not at the same time, as I said, they're going to be selected. Okay, cool. That's interesting. Always good to know these sort of things. I'm actually going to delete these off the screen just to give us a little bit more screen real estate. And I'm probably actually going to zoom out now anyway. In fact, yeah, let's leave them. I might be all right being zoomed out. The next thing I'm going to look at passing through here is some note and gate CV data. And I expect it to fail, to be perfectly honest. It should come through. But with note and CV gate data, CV usually will stay at the last value. So when I say CV, sorry, note CV, whatever you play last on your keyboard, that value is held. Doesn't matter if once you let go of the key, that value is always held. And obviously this is returning things back to 0 when we switch to a new port. At the end of the day, it should be like a real big issue. It depends on what you're really doing. It depends on what instruments you're going into. But let's just have a little look and see if we can, I'm not going to use the word break it, but let's just see what happens or doesn't happen. Grab an instrument. There we go. There's a subtractor. Why not? In fact, let's grab 2 of them. Yeah. All right, we're going to grab 2 of them. And then what I'm going to actually put on top of these, I'm going to put one of them on, and let's have another one down here, shall we? Oops, there, another one there. So what I'm able to do is I can take, and I'm going to put that into mono mode to start with. So what I'm going to do is take the gate and plug that into the in. Oops. And then I'm going to have my note going into that one. Then obviously we need some notes stuff coming out. So I'm going to put that one there and that one to there. Just for the moment. And what we can do is we can take, this is going to be a gate data. So we can put this gate, I'm just going to put it into this gate over here. Obviously I could go straight into the subtractor. Pleasant sound. Oh, something doesn't look right. If I've got something wired up backwards here, more than likely, I know what I'm like. Yeah, I'd say I've got something. So I've got something wired up backwards, definitely. Okay. Might be a glitch. Right, let me just bring this keyboard down here, then you can see what I'm sort of playing. Now, the kind of issues we're going to get with this kind of setup, because we're in mono, is going to be what we refer to as our sustain issues. So if I was to hold down a note and another note and another note and start releasing them, I've still got my chord until I release that last note. Yeah, that's to be expected, really. This is how note and gate CV works. If I was holding the chord down, what happens when we switch away? Oh, that was interesting. So it actually held that chord even though I've switched away until I released it. What happens then if I hold a chord down and hit another note? Oh, okay. So it looks like what I can see going on with these signals is it's waiting for another signal to come in before it kind of does its final switch. And that would actually, if this was actually wired up to go to probably another subtractor, you'd actually hear it. Yeah, that's quite interesting. So yeah, that's quite a nice little feature what they've actually built into this. Obviously, I can see that in a live situation, it means you can change ahead of time, ready to make your change, and it'll make that change on the new device or parameter or whatever you happen to be pointing this to. Obviously, we're playing around with notes. And as I said, the notes aren't going to really be effective using this. If you're using it like mono, using it in mono mode sort of thing, you could get away with it by the looks of it. Do bear in mind though, it does drop down to a 0. That could prove a problem. Especially if you had something like, I would have said if you've got palmetto on it, I reckon that would give you quite a big issue, because as soon as you've let go, that will probably drop down, and your next note you play is going to always go from 0 palmetto up to whatever note you're playing. So that might prove a bit of an issue there. So I wouldn't quite recommend it, but maybe for something it might work. The next bit I'm more interested in is, let's pop this on to poly mode. Now, poly mode is a special way of how CV signals are managed and are handled. As you can see, I'm not pressing any keys, but you can see we've got a lot going on. And that's because it's as I say, poly mode is in like a special format of how it's sending its data around, because it's sending lots of channels, you could say effectively, but it still has to send it serially. So it encodes it and decodes it. And that's what we're getting. So this is the information going on, and it's not going to like change drastically as I hold a key down or anything. It's still going to carry on. You can see there's a blip because I've held a key. But look what happens when I start letting go. you know, whereas before it's sustaining all the notes, now it does release it correctly as we would expect it to. Brilliant. So what happens if I hold a chord and change? Okay, so this time, as soon as I've changed to another program, because PolyCV is chatter, 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 it's instantly cut that note off. So as soon as I change the program, it's instantly cutting it off because the value is changing. Because remember I said that when we changed program, it looked like it was waiting for a CV value to change. Well, it's instantaneous really with the poly stuff. And also, if you notice over here, you can see, is it receiving poly? No, it's not. So when I put this to 0, this light here will come on to say it's now receiving. So in this setup, what we've got, without a doubt, the MIDI CV converter is actually helping us a lot here and cleanly closing things off for us. And as I said, if I had a chord and I suddenly switched it to another, it's suddenly gone, hey, I've lost my poly signal, and it's turned everything off gracefully for us, I suppose is the best way of saying it. So I can see now, by using things like with the MIDI CV converter or poly CV with this select program, actually is a very, very workable solution. And straight away, I'm looking at this now thinking, well, I'll have to show you the stack. I'll do a video on it. I built a 1 in, 32 out, and it's a massive, 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 massive stack. And this one single box is going to replace all that, because it definitely allowed me to use my CV converter poly in, going off to 32 different MIDI C converters in that generative project. Wow, that's a biggie. That's a biggie for me. I can see that working really, really well. Right, a very, very quick amendment. One of the tests I didn't actually do was have a signal coming in, nothing plugged into that one, and then obviously outputs to both ports, and these happens to be going channel 2 and 3. And the main reason I'm doing this amendment, because it's an interesting result I've just seen, and I thought I'd quickly film this as it's a show and tell. So as I change the value, it's going to affect this as expected. You can see it affecting this. But interestingly, every time I'm changing that value and it's picking up that change in the value, it's like re-triggering this port here. This is dropping back to 0 and a 1. Now, my thoughts there are now, and let's see if this will actually work, is if we had a random signal coming in here, and I'm talking about a very, very slow one, we might be able to use this as some gate data to actually trigger something. So we can have a random LFO which is choosing the notes, which will be going bloop, 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 bloop. Obviously with random, it's going to be not as many changes. It's going to just be one change. And yeah, in fact, let's not even talk about it. Let's actually do it. Let's actually go and grab myself an LFO. Oh, let's grab that one because it fit on the screen, so it's nice and small. So let's just change this to a range of, so it's in tempo sync. Cool. Let's put this to a random LFO. Let's, because of the way ammo works, you have to remember you have to double the signal. So I'm just going to put that to there, put the phase right up. So this should now give me a random signal coming out. So I'm going to take this signal, and it shouldn't really matter if it's bipolar or unipolar in this particular case. No, I do want unipolar. And I'm going to pump that in as a note. I'm stuck in my ways. I like to have gates on top and then notes on bottom, then I know exactly what I'm doing. So we can actually have a look at that signal probably now coming through. So we've got ourselves a signal coming through. And interestingly, we've got ourselves some gate data as well. This is going to sound all over the place. So yeah, let's just plug it in, and then we can worry about the other bits in a minute. So this is going to be my gate data, so I'm going to plug that in as gate, as you do. And my note's already plugged in. But I think we get the idea. Obviously, we can scale this, the data what's coming out of this right down. And in fact, hey, we can start using some of this lovely functionality here. So we can scale that right down. Whoops, I need something. And then we can offset it. And hey, we've got ourselves already something going, haven't we? Well, yeah. So I'm glad I've actually just done this, because my head's just, again, it's just gone whizzing off. There is, let's have a quiet it, put another program number. Yeah, so my head's just going whizzing off now. I've just done that. Yeah, so a good little amendment, this one is. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, this select program, as I say, I don't know why I bypassed it when it first came out. I know they had a few products came out, and maybe I was trying to sort of look at them together, and I just didn't have proper time to look at them. But yeah, there's definitely uses for that. So, as I said, this was a bit of a waffle video because I was learning this device myself, and I've learned something new, and I can see where I'm going to use it. So that's brilliant. Hopefully you might have been watching it and gone, I could use it for this. So anyway, thanks for watching, and bye.